All started with a letter. A crisp envelope with the HOA seal stamped boldly across the front arrived in the mailbox one summer afternoon. For most homeowners in the neighborhood, these letters usually meant a new fine, an absurd regulation about lawn height, or some unnecessary warning about leaving trash bins in sight. But for me, this particular letter was different. It was not a warning nor a fine, but rather a smugly written announcement about a brand new community amenity that the HOA had supposedly installed for the neighborhood's benefit. The problem? That amenity was a swimming pool, and it had been built on my land. The letter proudly declared that after careful planning and budget allocation, the HOA board had decided to construct a luxury pool and lounging area, claiming it would increase property values for all. The letter even went so far as to outline rules for using the pool, wristbands for members, guest limits, operating hours, and of course, the steep monthly fee each household would now be expected to pay. But as I read through the details, my jaw tightened. I didn't remember signing off on any construction project. I didn't recall a single vote. And more importantly, when I glanced outside my back window toward the strip of land behind my fence, I realized what they had done. The HOA had taken my unused backyard lot, the extra parcel of land that I had purchased years ago as part of my property, and they had bulldozed it, paved it, and transformed it into a pristine community pool without ever asking my permission. My name was still on the deed. My taxes still cover that land. Yet somehow, the HOA had decided it was theirs to do with as they pleased. At first, I thought it must be a mistake. Maybe the construction company had built in the wrong place. Maybe the HOA had misread the property lines. But when I confronted the board president, she acted as if nothing was wrong. She told me I should be thankful for what they'd done, that my unused land had been turned into something the entire community could enjoy. She even hinted that I should feel honored my land had been chosen for the project. What she didn't realize was that her words only fueled my anger. This was not an HOA project funded with their own property. This was theft. They had trespassed, destroyed my land, and built something that now carried fees, rules, and regulations, all enforced by them. I was expected to pay into it. Yet I wasn't even acknowledged as the rightful owner of the land it sat on. Neighbors began flocking to the pool within days. Kids splashed, families gathered, and the HOA paraded the new construction as their crowning achievement. They held a ribbon-cutting ceremony, cameras flashing, board members smiling smugly as if they had done something incredible for the community. Meanwhile, I stood on my back porch, watching strangers swim on my land, feeling powerless and furious. But as the days passed, my anger gave way to a colder, more calculated thought. If the land was mine and the pool was on it, then technically, the pool was mine too. The HOA could draft as many rules as they liked, but none of it changed the fact that I owned the property beneath their sparkling blue trophy. That realization sparked an idea. I wasn't going to fight them in a shouting match. I wasn't going to waste years in court trying to prove what was already clear in black and white legal documents. No, I was going to take back what was rightfully mine in a way they would never see coming. The first step was gathering proof. I dug out the property deed, the land survey, the tax records, everything that tied that strip of land to my name. I carefully documented the pool's construction, snapping photos of the property lines and comparing them to the official maps. Piece by piece, I built my case. And once I was confident, I moved to the next stage, reclaiming it physically. The solution came in the form of sturdy wooden posts and heavy metal fencing. One Saturday morning, while most of the neighbors were still asleep, I rented equipment and began marking the boundary lines around my land. By the time the HOA realized what I was doing, the posts were already sunk into ground. And within days, tall fencing rose around the pool, enclosing it entirely within my property. For the first time since the HOA stunt, I smiled. They had built a pool without my permission. So I did the only logical thing. I fenced it off, locked the gate, and took it for myself. But little did I know, this was only the beginning, because the moment the HOA realized what I had done, the war truly began. Got it. Here's Chapter 2, continuing the story in the same style and length. When the HOA first noticed a tall wooden fence circling their prized pool, the reaction was immediate. Within hours, Angry phone calls, emails, and letters poured in. The board president stormed down my driveway, demanding I take the fence down for the good of the community. But this time, I didn't back down. I stood my ground, armed with a deed and a calm, steady confidence that rattled them more than my anger ever could. The HOA claimed I had no right to fence off what they called a community amenity. They insisted it was funded by the association, that the pool belonged to everyone in the neighborhood. But the more they shouted, the clearer it became. They had no legal leg to stand on. Their only claim was the arrogance of assuming they could take what wasn't theirs. As word spread, the neighborhood split in two. Some residents were furious with me, accusing me of being selfish and ruining summer for their kids. Others quietly applauded what I'd done, admitting that they too had felt bullied by the HOA for years. For once, the board wasn't untouchable. Someone had finally stood up to them, and done it in a way they couldn't easily dismiss. Still, the HOA wasn't going to give up without a fight. Within a week, they filed a formal complaint with the county, accusing me of unauthorized construction and claiming I had blocked access to shared property. But when inspectors arrived, they left shaking their heads. The paperwork was clear. The land belonged to me, not the HOA. Every inch of that pool sat on my parcel, and I was well within my rights to enclose it. The HOA president didn't take the news well. She organized meetings, rallied angry neighbors, and tried to paint me as the villain who had stolen the pool from innocent families. Flyers went out. Social media posts appeared. It was a full-on smear campaign designed to turn the community against me. But while the HOA wasted energy on drama, I focused on solidifying my position. I upgraded the fence, adding a lock gate and security cameras. I posted clear signs that read, "Private property." I even contacted my lawyer to draft a cease and desist letter, warning the HOA to stop trespassing and harassing me. Every step, I took tight in my grip on what was rightfully mine. Meanwhile, the pool sat quiet. The once bustling hub of the neighborhood was now an empty, gleaming reminder of the HOA's arrogance. Children who had been splashing in the water just days before now peered through the fence, their parents muttering angrily on the sidewalk. The HOA board, stripped of their community project, looked more desperate by the day. But what really broke them was the realization that they couldn't undo their mistake. They had spent thousands of dollars on construction, funded by homeowner dues, only to lose it all the moment I locked that gate. Their luxury amenity had become my private retreat. Every time I stepped into the pool, I was reminded not just of my victory, but of their failure. And yet, even with the law on my side, the fight was far from over. The HOA doubled down, filing new complaints, threatening lawsuits, and even trying to sneak into the pool when I wasn't home. They treated it as if it was still theirs, refusing to accept the reality that they had built their dream project on land they didn't own. Neighbors started whispering that this feud was tearing the community apart. Tensions grew at every HOA meeting. Old grievances came bubbling to the surface. People who had once blindly supported the board now questioned their decisions, wondering how much money had been wasted on a project they could no longer access. The board president, humiliated but still defiant, made it clear she wouldn't stop until she restored the pool to the community. She promised lawsuits, press coverage, even political connections. She wanted a war, and I knew she was going to drag the fight as far as she could. But what she didn't realize was that I had no intention of backing down. If she wanted a battle, I was ready, because I wasn't just fighting for a pool. I was fighting for my property, my rights, and my freedom from an HOA that thought it was above the law. And as the sun set over the silent, fenced-off pool, I realized something important. This wasn't just a victory for me. This was a warning to the HOA. They had picked the wrong homeowner to push around. The real showdown was only just beginning. The HOA thought they could wear me down. They filed lawsuit after lawsuit, stacking paperwork higher than my fence. They sent letters threatening liens, fines, and even hinted at seizing my property. But every case they pushed collapsed in the same way. The land deed. The judge didn't even need long hearings. With one look at the survey lines and ownership records, the rulings always came back the same. My property, my rights, my pool. The board's arrogance had finally caught up with them. Their community project had drained the HOA's bank account, leaving them scrambling to explain to angry residents why their dues had been wasted. Meetings turned chaotic. Neighbors who once stood behind the president now shouted her down, demanding accountability. The same people who had mocked me for fencing off their pool were now furious at the board for losing it in the first place. Soon, the fractures within the community grew too wide to ignore. The HOA president, once the queen of the neighborhood, was forced to resign in shame. Her reputation, once polished with self-importance, was now stained with failure. The remaining board members tried to hold things together, but the trust was gone. The HOA's grip on the community loosened with every passing week. As for me, I didn't need to shout, threaten, or gloat. I simply lived my life. Each morning, I walked past the fence with my coffee in hand and looked out at the calm blue water. The pool was no longer a source of anger or conflict. It was my personal victory, a reminder that standing firm against bullies pays off in the end. I didn't throw parties. I didn't rent it out. I just enjoyed the peace of knowing it was mine and no one could take it away. The whispers in the neighborhood slowly shifted. At first, I was a selfish villain. Then, I became the stubborn homeowner who wouldn't give up. And finally, I was seen as the one person who had managed to bring the HOA to its knees. People began approaching me quietly, sharing their own stories of being fined for nonsense rules or harassed over the smallest details. Some even admitted they wished they'd had the courage to do what I did. The pool, once paraded as the HOA's greatest achievement, now stood as a monument to their failure. Locked away from their control, it was the perfect symbol of their arrogance backfiring. They had tried to take from me without asking, and in the end, they had lost everything. Over time, life in the neighborhood settled back into a strange normal. Without the president barking orders, the board scaled back its rules. People began to breathe again, realizing that maybe they didn't need someone policing their every move. Ironically, the HOA's defeat brought the community closer together, even if they'd never admit it was because of me. And as for me, I never forgot the lesson. Property lines matter. Rights matter. And the moment you give an inch to people who think they're above the law, they'll take a mile. That pool was proof of it. So, yes, the HOA built a pool on my land without permission. And yes, I fenced it off and took it for myself. But in the end, it wasn't about swimming or property value. It was about drawing a line that no one, not even a smug HOA board, was allowed to cross.